What's going on, y'all? It's your boy June Archer, the Winner Circle here on ThisIs50.com with my man Julian Alexander, the man behind some of the classic hip hop covers. Give him a few, Uncle J.U.
Get Rich or Die Tryin.
Yeah.
Beg for Mercy, Terminate on Sight, Rotten Apple, Straight Outta Cashville,
Nas,
Nostradamus,
Eminem.
Iron Flag by Wu-Tang, Eminem, Relapse Recovery, Encore.
Man, keep it locked right here. The Winner Circle.
Are you ready to win?
Yeah.
Come join the winning circle.
Fuck with the winners, baby.
Put up your hands for me, baby.
Put them up.
And do it like we're supposed to.
Yeah.
'Cause we're gonna win.
Consider this the theme song for victory. The shit you say to yourself, you made history. I'm trying to make it feel like the first.
What's going on, y'all? This is the Winner Circle here, June Archer, with my man, this guy. I'm telling you, sit back, relax, you're gonna get schooled. Julian Alexander, the creator and founder of Slang Inc. What's up, Uncle J.U.?
What's going on, man?
My man. Listen, we're gonna talk about some things. Get your pens out, scribble it down. You're gonna get a history lesson. I want you to take us back, cause we've known each other pretty much all our lives. But I want, for those who don't know who you are, I want you to take us back to the first magazine cover that you had a hand in that had a very pivotal artist on the front cover of it. Tell us who the artist is and what name of the magazine was and how you got your start in the game.
So the magazine cover you're talking about is Stress magazine. It was a New York-based hip-hop magazine that was out in the, let's say, early, mid-90s. I did one cover for them, and that cover was the first magazine cover Jay-Z was ever on. So that's what you're talking about.
That's dope, yes.
And not only was that magazine cover used to help promote that brand and that publication, it was also done early enough that they added some stuff to it, and that magazine was used to promote the release of Reasonable Doubt as well. So that got a lot of run, definitely in the New York City area, but it helped promote that album and launch his career as well.
No, that's dope. For you now, you got your start a couple different ways, because you started on the ground level. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was Mr. Hastings that gave you your start. Take us to the point where you got your education and what allowed you to find the inspiration to get into graphic design.
Yeah, so I loved art, always. It's just been a part of who I am. I drew. As a kid, I spent a lot of time drawing and just making things. Beyond that, just any sort of creative outlet. Like, you know, I came up at a time where people had flat tops and designs cut in their head. I learned how to cut hair so I could, cutting hair was cool, but I'm like, yo, I get to draw a picture in somebody's head and get paid for it. You know what I mean? So it just kind of rewarded my creativity. But as time went on, I always had a really strong connection to music. So when I would listen, I grew up in a place where there was a record collection in my house, and I used to just sit there and flip through the album covers, and I fell in love with that. I didn't realize, who made those, or that was a way you could make a living, but it was something that I connected with. So at a time when, it became normal for me to listen to an album and look at the cover, because that helped paint the picture. It was more, it just added to the music for me. And as I, advanced in life and kind of figured out what I wanted to do, I never really considered being an artist as a career option. I felt like it was a hobby, but through the course of my life, I went to college. I found a teacher early on who recognized my creative abilities and encouraged me to learn a little bit about graphic design, and told me if I was interested in it, she would help me develop a portfolio. With her help, I applied to art school, and I ended up going to college to study graphic design. That put me in New York City. And in New York, I'm still not really connecting the dots back with album packaging as much yet, but it starts to click. Like, I think that's what I want to do. And I started putting that in the world, and through luck, through hard work, through kind of articulating what my dreams were, I came in contact with someone who knew the head of the art department at Def Jam, Say Adams. And she was like, yeah, I'll introduce you to him. So we had a real kind of casual encounter. I met him, I told him what I wanted to do, and he kind of nonchalantly was like, yo, you could come show me your portfolio. And he made the mistake of giving me his phone number. I was on him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm calling him until I finally got a design internship with him. And that was really the first time where, you know, kind of interning at Def Jam and being up there. I was supposed to be there twice a week, but I was there every day. You know what I mean? Like seeing Method Man and Redman in the office, or Onyx, or being in the elevator with Jam Master Jay. Like just being that close to things just really fueled my passion and my desire and made me be like, this is what I want to do. It's evolved, but at that stage of life, it was like a dream come true. You know what I mean? And beyond, and that led to other opportunities. You mentioned Mr. Hastings. That's Danny Hastings. He had a design studio at the time named Cartel, and he also really just saw something in me. And that Stress magazine cover that we talked about, I met him at school. A teacher asked him to come in and speak at one of my classes, and he did. And we met and connected, and he was like, yo, what are you doing tomorrow? And I was like, nothing, what's up? He was like, yeah, I got this thing I'm working on. And that was the Stress magazine cover. So literally I met him one day at school, the next day I'm doing a magazine cover with him. So I've been very fortunate, and that's a little bit of how the path kind of came. And now I'm really trying to evolve that and continue to take it forward and create new opportunities for myself through the company that I've built, and through the good fortune that I've had to be involved with the projects I've worked on to date and with the network I've built.
I want to fast forward to the Columbia days. I want to talk about 50, your first interaction with 50. Unfortunately, something happened to him. You guys remained in great standing, and he gave you the opportunity to create a plethora of work that has been now some of the top album covers in hip hop and in music, and you are now a part of history. Take me back to, because you talked about logos. Two of the most iconic logos that you created were one, J-Lo, and the 50 Cent logo. I want you to talk about that interaction with you and 50 and him remaining loyal to allow you the opportunity to create these pieces that people now, near and far, have fallen in love with 50, G-Unit, and obviously it gave you the opportunity to work with Eminem, but I want to talk about 50 first.
More than giving me, you know what, I started at the beginning. To answer your question, I guess elevators are kind of a theme for me. I don't know what 50 would tell you, what you asked him about when we first met, but what I'll tell you is, the first time I met 50 was, I was in the elevator, we're walking to the elevators, and I'm walking, and this dude has a Trackmaster jacket on, because Trackmasters were, you know, they were leading Columbia at the time.
Shout out
and
to
on the
Punk
front
and
of, yeah, and I just got assigned to 50 Cent's project. So I didn't know who he was. I hadn't heard anything yet, but I knew his name. And I saw him in this magazine called Trace, which was a magazine out of the UK. And he had this piece. He had a cross made out of, it had a quarter and nickels around it, making a cross, and it had these little diamond stuff. So I knew who he was because I read this magazine, but you couldn't see his face, I don't think, in it. But he had a jacket on that said 50 Cent. So now we're walking to the elevator, I'm like, yo, you 50 Cent? I'm like, I'm Julian, I'm your art director. I just introduced myself to him. We had a elevator ride conversation. It was very brief, but he seemed cool to me. And then his product manager, who is a dude named Ron Archer, who I was very cool with, rest in peace, he passed away unfortunately. But Ron and I would talk, and we had a good rapport, and he was like, yo, come, I want you to hear some music. So he played me like Rowdy Rowdy, he played me all of these, he played me a few records from 50, and I just kind of liked 50. Fast forward to when I started working on singles for him, 50, anybody who knew 50 early on will tell you that who 50 is today, he knew that. Like he would tell you, he saw that at that point in time. So he was always someone who I enjoyed talking to, but despite But he also was somebody who he and I had a real genuine relationship. He would be in the building, he would come and spend like 3 hours in my office, like, yo, what you working on? What you doing? Why you do that way? Or whatever, and he just took a genuine interest, so we would talk all the time. So working on his logo and working on his projects was always meaningful to me because we had a real rapport, and it wasn't just this person who saw it as necessity. He had value. He saw the value in what I was doing, and we had a genuine relationship. And it made me work that much harder for him. So the singles, we did that, but the big thing was working on his Power of the Dollar album, which was never released, but I completed a whole album for him. And the artwork, I thought it was dope. I was really proud of it, and he liked it. So, things went the way that they did, and when he was no longer on the label, we stayed in contact. Between 50 just kind of doing his thing, I saw what he was doing, and I had a rapport with Sha. I built a relationship with Sha around this time, and when 50 got signed to Shady and Aftermath, he was like, yo, there was a point where he was like, wherever I end up, I want you to do my artwork. And he meant it, you know what I mean? Like when Get Rich or Die Tryin was about to come out, he called me over, I went to his grandmother's house, he played the album for me. It was me, him, Yayo, Banks, sitting in the living room listening to the album because he wanted me to hear it, to understand what it was about and talk about ideas. And he stayed true to that, and it set me up to start my own business, to do artwork that is, I'm fortunate enough to kind of look at things that document kind of pivotal moments in music history in terms of visuals, and I see that album cover there, and I'm so proud, and that came from those discussions and him giving, and him being true to providing that opportunity for me. It led me to set up my business, and also I look at things like there's a lot of things that have happened in my life as a result of, that just put a lot of things in motion. You know what I mean? And I'm eternally grateful for it.
One of those things, because the work spoke for itself, was the opportunity to work with Eminem. How was that experience?
It was dope. It was dope to me. Like, it's a very simple and straightforward answer, but look, the fact that anybody pays me to create artwork is incredible to me because I'm doing something that I genuinely love to do, and is, I want to make a living from it, but money is not my motivation. I didn't look at things like where am I going to make a good living for myself and then choose making art. But it has provided a living for me. So working with Eminem means a lot to me because, not because it means a lot to me that anyone chooses me. But when you look at someone who's found great success and is notable and kind of has the attention of the world, he can choose anybody.
Right.
And he chose me, so it means a lot. My process is not vastly different related on people. It's only different related on the set of challenges that I have or the objective I'm trying to meet. So, from my point of view, I look at him like I look at anybody else. When I'm doing the job, my focus is just to do the best job. Just create the best pieces that I can. I will tell you though, one of the things that was kind of dope about working with him is I've done a few albums for him. I did Encore, Relapse, and Refill, which was a kind of different take on Relapse, Recovery, Curtain Call, which is kind of a best of sort of album. But after the last one that I did for him was Recovery, and when I finished the album, one night, maybe like 11 o'clock, my phone rings, and it's Paul Rosenberg. And he's like, yeah, I have somebody here who wants to talk to you. And it's Eminem, and he just told me how much he appreciated the artwork and what it meant to him, like how much he liked it. And I'm like, things like that are very humbling, and I really appreciate it because you don't have to thank me. You just gotta pay me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the fact that he did thank me it meant a lot to me. And that's the last time we worked together, and I think that's a good note to end on. Because I look at it like things have cycles. I don't look at it like, oh, you're no longer satisfied or what's up. I look at it like, yo, we had a nice run. You know what I mean? And that was a nice conclusion to it.
No, that's dope. So you've done Eminem, you've done 50, you've done Banks, Yayo, Buck, you've done Glenn Lewis, for those who don't know. You've done the J-Lo, but one of the biggest pieces that I don't think a lot of people understand is when you are able to put your art with your passion, and for you, not being a musical guy, but loving music and putting your art with your music and your love for it and your passion. In 2004, because we were discussing the year, you won a Grammy working on the box set for Miles Davis. For you, you've had so many great moments. Where does that stand in all the body of work that you've done to win a Grammy in 2004?
It's definitely a high point in terms of my career. Like, when I realized that I wanted to design album packaging and I pursued that, I didn't even know you could get a Grammy for it. You know what I mean? So the fact that I was nominated and won a Grammy is incredible. Like, it puts me in like a very small group in terms of like what you can achieve, right? But the proudest moments to me are like calling my mother, my stepfather, and my girl at the time, who's now my wife. You know what I mean? But it's just being like, yo, we're going to LA, we're going to the Grammys. Like, having them there just for that moment. And then winning it is like extra. You know what I mean? Because some friends were nominated in the category. Like, you want to win, but I'm not focused on that because I don't want to be like win, lose.
You're in the moment.
You know what I mean? But but to be able to have my family there to share that moment was dope. And a funny thing about the Grammy is it's tucked away in a place where you could walk right by it in my house and not see it. And I did that deliberately, and I think I'm gonna move it now and kind of put it in a more visible place. But it put a lot of pressure on me because I felt like it was something that happened in my career that wasn't likely to happen again. And I don't want to look at that as the high point, because if you do, then it's all downhill from there. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very proud of it, but I try and just keep it in the perspective of I appreciate it, but it has nothing to do with my hunger and my drive. And I think it also kind of put me in a position to be like, look, if I did this in music and I don't think it's not likely to happen again, and I'm not pursuing it happening again deliberately. Like, my goal is not to have 6 Grammys, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm just like, it helped me be like, I've achieved this in music, where else can I put my focus and what other opportunities do I want to bring to fruition for myself? So it's been I'm proud of it.
It's been a great journey.
Yeah.
So people are visual, right? And of course the music will speak for itself, but you could very well say, you can make the argument that you probably sold over maybe 70, 80 million records.
I had to do the math for my bio. So I haven't sold any records, but my artwork is, if you tally up projects that I worked on and what they've sold, it's over 100 million.
Wow.
So, like, as an artist, to be able to be like, I've done things that has been seen by over 100 million people.
Says a lot, speaks for itself.
Yeah, man.
So
that's pretty incredible to me.
So with 100 million plus records sold and a Grammy, what's next for Julian Alexander and Slang Inc.?
So, my company is one that really focuses on creative direction, branding, and design services for lifestyle entertainment clients in that space. I see a lot of opportunity to work. I'm still very passionate about music, but I want to work on it differently. I see a lot of times artists have pop-up shops or different ways in which they engage, because it's not music sales, it's not album sales that drives artist success. So I see a lot of opportunity to get involved in different things. Right now, I'm passionate about branding and design and creative direction, as I said, but how it's applied. So in addition, like, I don't want to just make your logo and figure out what things are supposed to look like. I want to take it further and figure out, if you're going to do a pop-up, you're an artist, where's an opportunity to express this brand in a physical space? What is the experience that people come out for? Because there's no substitute for that. Right now, we're dealing with people who are online looking at images of things that happen, but you can see a picture of something that happened yesterday, but it's not like being there.
Right.
You got to make that experience of being there more valuable and make that be the takeaway. You want people to experience what you have and feel like you're really offering something that resonates with them. And I'm focused on being a part of that experience. I'm also translating the skills that I have. I moved from working primarily in music to, for a while, working primarily in sport. So, and sport and lifestyle. So kind of working with artists and working with athletes is very similar in terms of who you're talking to and who they reach and the importance of how you're presenting an individual or a group of individuals as a brand, or that company as a brand. So working on pop-ups, working on creating assets that go in retail environments, working on designing physical things. These are all important to me. I'm also focused on making some headway in television and film, creating key art, branding, starting to learn. I'm focused on learning more about motion graphics and how to do things that are not static images, things that move and include time and sound. Key art, I use that term, but some people don't know that term. That's movie posters. So they're large scale graphics that represent an idea, a show, a movie, but it really kind of is to me, that's a parallel to an album cover, except it's way bigger.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I love seeing my work out in the wild, you know what I mean? Like just being in the street and seeing things that I do, and it gives that kind of visibility. And I don't say it to feed I'm saying it in the lens of my work, but because I want to contribute to something that I see that moves me and that I really appreciate. So those are some of the areas I'm focused on currently.
Well, that's dope. Listen, we have Julian Alexander here, Slang Inc. Guys, be careful what you pray for. You just might get it. And as you're making your way through everything that you're passionate about, be careful of these elevators. And when you're in these elevators, make sure you rub elbows. You never know who you're going to be speaking with, who you might meet. Network. Rub these elbows. Get somebody's number, email, and start working on the ground level. There's levels to this. You guys talk about levels all the time. I'm trying to tell you, put the work in. There's no shortcut to success. Slang Inc., June Archer, Julian Alexander, here, the Winner Circle on thisis50.com.
Peace.